Hi guys, we are solving multi-step equations with distributive property. Okay, let's get started. Let's take a look at the problem before we dive in. You always want to evaluate what operations are there and decide what do you do first. Okay, so here we have a 3x and then we have a -2, and then next to the -2 in parentheses is -7x. A -17, close the parentheses, equals -170. So you might think, well, could I perform the operation in parentheses first? No, because this is a variable and this is a constant. So can't combine like terms there, but what I can do is multiply, because here we have multiplication, -2 times the quantity. So let's get started. And I really want you to show your work, and I know it seems like a hassle, but some of the mistakes that I've been seeing in class are a result of not showing your work. Okay, especially this step. -2 times -7x. And then, close the parentheses, -2 times -17. Okay, all of that equals -170. All right. So we're looking at the problem now. I've distributed the -2. And what do I do next? Well, I have two multiplication expressions that I want to evaluate before I start combining like terms. I can't do that first. So I have -2 times -7x, which is a positive 14x. Multiply the constant by the coefficient there. And then I have a -2 times a -17, which is a positive 34. Okay, that is looking much better, right? Now, what do? Combine like terms, which I know all of you guys know. Notice how I'm circling the positive in front of the 14 so that I know that it's positive, which I know you already know that, because you guys have been doing a great job. Okay, so I add the coefficients, and of course a coefficient is what? The number before the variable, right? Okay, so 3 plus 14. So we have 17 x's plus the 34 equals a -170, which is a bigger number than I've been giving you, but we are big kids, right? I'm a big kid now. Okay, all right. All right, so this positive 34, we want to get rid of. Okay, so negative, so we want to get rid of the positive 34. So we have 17 x's increased by 34. Get rid of the 34. But because algebra is a scale, if I get rid of the 34 here, it would make, some way it would be heavier, so what do we need to do? Subtract 34 on both sides. Always need to be mindful of that. So now I have 17 x's, and I have to add my two negatives, -170 and -34. So I can look at this and I can say, okay, so I'll bring down my 4. Then I have a 170 and a 30, which are compatible because 7 plus 3 is 10. So 170 plus 30 is 200. Adding negatives together gives me a -204. Okay, so now I have 17 x's is equal to -204. So that's for 17. I want to know what the value of 1x is. All right, so what do I do here? I'm going to divide. And I have this negative number divided by a positive, which is going to give me a negative quotient. So now let's go ahead and divide 17 into -204. Lots of work to show, but when we show our work, helps us remember. The information goes from our short-term memory to our long-term memory, and then we just remember. Okay. All right, so 17, and again, I have a negative quotient. 17 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 20 once. And that's 20, and I want to put the 1 over the 0 and not the 2, correct? All right, 17 take away, we have a 20, we're going to take 17 from 20. So, yeah, that's, if you count up from 17 to 20, that's 3 numbers. So that would be a 3, negative 34. Okay, so I actually didn't mean negative 34. I thought 34. Okay. So anyway, how many 17s are in 34? 7 plus 7 is 14. I have a sneaky suspicion it would be 2. Uno, dos. All right. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 34. Okay. Negative 12. Isn't that dandy? All right, 0. Negative 12. So, now that is my solution. X is negative 12. So, in algebra, it's always good to check, and actually, it is a requirement. Like, oftentimes, oh, come on the state assessment, I'm going to move this down. On the state assessment, as well as your quiz, hint, hint, you're going to have to check. So, let's rewrite the word check, or let's write check. And then we're going to determine, is X, in fact, negative 12? Is it the solution that enables this expression to be equal to this constant? Or does it solve this equation? That's what we're determining. Okay. 3 times negative 12. Write that down. Bring down the negative 2. Negative 7. And notice how I put the parentheses here. I'm bringing everything down. And then when I see an X, what do? Padow. Throw it in there. I'm going to use parentheses for multiplication because it just is better than using an X. That would be a lot of X's. Okay, that wouldn't work very well if we used an X for multiplication in algebra. All right, and we've all did a really great job of transitioning from that. Okay, so now evaluating. This is a little trickier. Actually, it's not. You just have to practice. Practice makes what? Perfect. Thank you, darling. Okay. And you know what? The students who practice do exceedingly well. Very well. Okay. And then those of you who don't, we're still working with you. Okay. All right. So 3 negative 12s is a negative 36. All right. And then I'm going to bring down this negative 2. And I'm going to perform the operation in parentheses. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to say, what do I do first? All right. I got multiplication and subtraction. I multiply first. That's what I do. Okay. Negative 7 times 12 is 84. Positive 84. And you are welcome to perform those calculations on the side. 7 times 12. Okay. 10 times 12 is, of course, a 10 and a 2. 7 tens is 70. 2 sevens is 14. 7 plus 14 is 84. But, of course, you can just multiply old school. Take it on back, old school. All right. 84 minus 17. All of that is supposed to equal negative 170. We're keeping our fingers crossed. All right. And now bring down the rest of the problem. We want to continue bringing down the remainder of the problem until we've evaluated everything, okay? All right, so 84 minus 17. So let's do that on the side. So, oops, I put 16. All right, so, ooh, that looks horrible. Okay. 84 minus 17. 8, you need to regroup because you can't take 7 from 4. So, ooh, Lord have mercy, long day. Okay, this is a 7. 14, 7 from 14, 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. 67. So we're going to throw that in there. Now we're getting closer. Now, negative 2 times 67. But guess what? Bring down the negative 36. Remember, with algebra, it's so much bringing it on down. Bring it on down. All right. So now we have two sets of 67. Of course, this is going to be a negative times a positive. And so 60 plus 60 is 120. 7 plus 7 is 14. 120 plus 14 is 134. Okay. 2 times 7 is 4. Carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 134. Okay, it's looking great, guys. All right, so now this seems to be a constant point of contention. Negative 36. Again, every term has a sign. A constant is a term. Negative 134 is a term. Now, question of the day. Do we add those or subtract? Well, if you have 36 negatives and 134 more negatives, what else could you do? Add them. Okay, so we have, go back to the pencil, negative, and a negative is a negative. Because you have negatives, you have more negatives, lots of negatives, okay? So we have 130 plus 30 is 60. 4 plus 6 is 10. That's going to be 174. Okay. Did Miss Littles do that right? 30 plus 30, that's 170. Pardon me. Ooh. Long day, guys. Okay, 170. Wow, look at that. Fascinating. Good job. Okay,